Hi, good evening, everyone. So, today we are going to go ahead and discuss what is the syllabus for your written exam that you have, of your IIT Kanpur coming this week. Now, just to go ahead and give you a heads up, first of all, out of the big lot of students who gave the IIT exam and GATE exam, you have been, few of you have been selected to go ahead and give the written test. And that in itself is a very good thing. That in itself suggests that, you have gone ahead and have achieved something, right, with respect to IIT. So first of all, congratulations on that. Now, when it comes to this exam, this written exam, the sample paper is available on their website. And at any point of time, you should go ahead and also look at the sample paper, right? Now, when it comes to the sample paper pattern, you would observe that they have divided the entire paper in three parts, right? And when I talk about part A, beta part A has 25 questions, out of which approximately 18 to 19 appear to be maths questions and remaining appear to be stats questions, right? That's the first thing. Then you have part B. Beta part B has 15 questions, which include questions on English and it includes questions on logic, right? And then you have part C. So part B is very similar to part A of CUET. If you have already prepared for CUET, this should make sense. And then you have part C beta, in which you have 10 questions coming from very basic economics, not very tough economics. So basically, if you have done economics for any of the entrance exam till now, this is where things will seem very simple. And my suggestion to you is, for the remaining time period before you sit for this entrance exam, the thing that you should be focusing on should be part A instead of any other part. Part C is easier. Part A is what can trick you, and part A is what you should be focusing on, right? So let us go ahead and have a look at the syllabus of this exam. So when I talk about algebra, in algebra beta, the things that you have to go ahead and do will be binomial theorem, AP, GP. So basically all sequence and series question. Like for example, in the sample paper, there is a question which talks about, it says find out the sum of the infinite series, right? So such kind of questions can go ahead and come in exam. So you have to go ahead and focus on that also. So AP, GP, series, permutation, and combination are the kind of questions that you should be focusing a lot on. So out of 25 questions, this part, you can imagine that there is going to be 8 to 9 questions on this aspect. So this is how important this is. 8 to 9 questions only on AP, JP, binomial series, and permutation combination. But then the second part is linear algebra, in which you have matrix, determinants, and linear equations. So matrix and determinants together should be coming as you can, if you go through the sample paper again, you should be expecting 5 to 6 questions on this. 5 to 6 questions on matrix and determinants, right? So beta 8 questions idhar laga lo and 6 idhar. 14 questions is what you cover from here. In matrix and determinants, not very difficult questions have been asked. So for example, I can ask you questions on the properties of matrices. I can go ahead and ask you questions on the rank of the matrix, the dimension of the matrix. I can ask you a question on whether the matrix is going to be singular or not. I can ask you questions on some properties of determinants of the matrix. So that kind of questions will come in exam. I can ask you questions on dot product, on cross product, also from the vector analysis. So I can ask you a question on converting matrix to a vector format, right? So those kind of questions can go ahead and come in this linear algebra. Then but the next thing is calculus, in which you have function, limit, continuity, most important, differentiation, integration, and constraint optimization. Again, you can go ahead and expect 7 to 8 questions from this part. At least 6 to 8 questions in this part. And it will ask you about whether the function is continuous or not. Then it can talk about point discontinuity. It can go ahead and give you questions related to differentiation. In integration, it can ask you about using by-part method, some trigonometric integration, and constraint optimization. So these are the topics that can go ahead and come in this exam. Then at last, you have this statistics. Again, expect 5 to 7 questions in stats part. So stats, very simple they have given. They will not go beyond binomial, Poisson, and normal distribution. And otherwise, central tendency, dispersion, and probability. In probability, you should be focusing a lot on Bayes' theorem. They have given that in the sample paper also. You should be focusing on understanding and reading. You should know how to read the normal distribution table also better. The standard normal tables, the Z table, the T table, not T is not required, hypothesis nahi aa raha, only probability is asked. So how to read the table, how to calculate probabilities using the table should be known to you. That will come in exam this time, right? It is there in the sample paper also. So it will go ahead and come in exam. Then you have part B. Part B beta, just grammar and logical reasoning is going to be asked. And then you have part C. So in part C, it says CBSE level. So I am not expecting them to go beyond CBSE level. And in CBSE level, you will have microeconomics questions on indifference curves, demand, production, short-run cost, perfect competition. It does not talk about monopoly, monopolistic. So I'm expecting only what you do in class 12th micro book. That should suffice. Please don't go beyond it. That is enough. If you revise from class 12th microeconomics book, it should be more than enough. You don't have to go beyond it. And same goes for macro. The syllabus is pretty simple. I want you to focus on index numbers. Index numbers can come in exam. You have a question even in the sample paper. And other than that, nominal versus real GDP. There was a question on GDP deflator in the sample paper. National income, circular flow of income, and in Indian economy, only LPG is important. So beta, again, you can focus from class 12th macroeconomics book, and that should be enough. So for part C, you don't have to go beyond the macro book or micro book of class 12th. They have clearly mentioned CBSE level, and I'm not expecting them to give you questions beyond that. If time permits, you can read principles of economics by Case and Fair. Only if time permits. If you don't have time, don't go beyond CBSE level. That should suffice. Focus a lot on part A of the syllabus. That has the major chunk. 35 questions only from part A. That is what is going to come in exam. Now, beta, let me go ahead and let me show some paper to you. So these are the mock papers that I have made this morning. And these papers basically, so I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 mock papers for students who have enrolled with us. And for students who have not enrolled with us, you can go ahead and contact us. And we are taking this initiative to give you some questions on IIT Kanpur even to you. So you can go ahead and contact us on our number. So this is the first mock paper of IIT Kanpur, and let us go ahead and have a look at some of the questions. So this kind of questions are very, very expected questions that will come in exam. As you can see, there are going to be 50 questions that you will have to answer. The first 25 questions are going to be based on your maths part, as I just mentioned to you. The next 15 would be English, and the remaining 10 would be economics. So as you can see, this is not a very difficult level of question, and you may expect similar question in exam also. Now, let me just take you through some of the other questions. So as you can see, this kind of question is basically where you will be given some words of the sentence, and you have to go ahead and make some order out of it, the right order out of it, right? So for example, I immediately salary my want, very simple sentence, and you just have to tell what is the correct order of this sentence. Now, if I go down to question number 41, these are the questions which are basically related to only the economics that can be asked from class 12, not beyond that. So if you can see, let's read one question and try to do it now itself. Suppose there was 4% decrease in price, and as a result, expenditure increased by 2%. So beta, we know that price and expenditure are moving in opposite direction. So price is decreasing and expenditure is increasing. So using total revenue method, you should know that when price and expenditure move in opposite direction, what is the condition? What do you do in that case, right? When price and expenditure move in the same direction, what do you do in that case? So if demand is inelastic, price and expenditure move in the same direction. If demand is elastic, price and expenditure move in the opposite direction. So in this case, they are moving in the opposite direction, and therefore we know that the elasticity should be greater than 1. So the correct answer will be C, right? So this is how you can go ahead and do these kind of questions. Similarly, when I go to this, so very simple questions. When is the law of demand violated, or other questions? But the first section, beta, the first section, that is part A, that is going to be a little tricky. And I want you to go ahead and focus a lot on part A of the course. So you have limited time. The strategy is to focus more on part A and spend less time on part B, because I'm imagining you have just given CUET and you're thorough with part